Hello everyone, I'm Profi1322 and this video is going to show the fastest fully upgraded off-road vehicles in terms of lap time. We're quickly going to go over the slowest vehicles right now, and as always the position counter is in the top left with the best lap time the vehicle achieved in the top right. This video only focuses on track performance, so if you're interested in top speed where braking, cornering and acceleration aren't relevant, check the link in the description for the top speed testing series. And if you want to know more information about this testing, including the extent to which it's accurate and how useful it is for you personally, have a read of the full description as everything that you need is in there. This video lists all cars and is correct as of the Super Sport Series update. For vehicles added after that or other classes of cars, check the playlist linked in the second line of the description, and feel free to check out my Patreon if you want to get these testing results a few days before the videos go up every Thursday. So we're seeing the slowest vehicles right now, some interesting vehicles as well, for example the Space Docker, which is very much only available in single player, and some of the slower vehicles are some of the more bigger weaponized vehicles like the Insurgent, pick up the technical things like that. And as we start into getting into the sort of sub 1 minute 20 aspects of the Sand Kings and Kalaharis, things like that, as we'll see, I will just mention and talk about it before people ask about it, of why I don't test these vehicles in an off-road situation, why I'm testing them on the regular track. Well, for one thing, you can race the off-road class on regular tracks, you know, it's just a class like any other. For number two, it's not going to be comparable to any other vehicles if I test the off-road vehicles on a different track. The beauty of testing everything on the same track is that you can compare vehicles in different classes. For example, we can compare the Pariah, which is in the sports class, to the supercars, and we can also do the same with the off-road vehicles. If I was to go and test them on a completely different track in completely different scenarios, it would be impossible to, say for example, see that the Rusty Rebel and compare that with the similar lap time vehicles in various other classes. And thirdly, I have talked about this in a previous video, which I'll link down below in the description, that there is so much variation to off-road vehicle races and off-road races in general that it's very, very difficult to really get some proper testing done for that. Now that's not to say that I'm not going to do that in the future when it comes to, say, you know, taking the top few out and seeing which is better on some off-road tracks. But in general, when it comes to off-road traction loss and all that kind of stuff, it's not a clear-cut way to test. So like I said, I've covered a lot of that in a video down below, I'll link down below, that talks about working out the best vehicles to use in an off-road situation and what you should be looking for off-road vehicles in that off-road situation. But in general, all my testing is done obviously on the same track. So with that out of the way, obviously we're up to 20th place now with the Bodhi just sneaking into that 20th place. We've seen a variety of different vehicles like the Rebels, the Dubster 6x6, the two technicals, both the Aqua and the Custom, which aren't all that quick really. Obviously the technical Custom is even slower than the regular Insurgent here. And then here we have the June FAV in 18th place with a 113.9. much slower than the regular June buggy, which we'll see later on in the video as well. So a little bit disappointing from the June FAV there. And the off-road class has, you know, expanded incredibly, like immensely, by the introduction of weaponized vehicles. It seems like a lot of weaponized vehicles that have been added to the game, for example things that we saw with gun running and all that kind of stuff, have just been put into the off-road class. You know, the game badly needs many more classes, but as it stands right now, we've got a lot of vehicles that have just, you know, stuck into the off-road class. We've got the Insurgent Pickup Custom here with a 113.0, which is actually pretty impressive for that, and it is the quickest version of the Insurgent that we have. Same with the Technical, the Custom version is the quickest version of the Technical that we have, but it is only slightly quicker than the Technical Aqua. And then we've got the Riata here in 15th place with a 112.8, one of the newest vehicles that we've seen. It's okay, but it's not that quick. Speaking of new vehicles, here's the Caracara, the latest vehicle that this video will cover, and like I said, any future vehicles, if you're watching this later on, will be in update videos, so just check the playlist for that. With a 112.7, it's about a tenth of a second quicker than the Riata. What's really annoying though is that this big six-wheeled weaponized giant with a big gun on the back can be used in regular off-road vehicle races, but the Ardent in the Sports Classics class can't, and it just has those piddly little guns on it. So really weird choices from Rockstar, but I guess we're used to seeing that these days. We got the ramp buggy here in 13th place. Now that is the spoiler version, which is only usable in a mission, one of the special vehicle work missions. That's the only point you can use that, so you can't upgrade it or store it or anything like that, and that's why it's so far down. In 12th place we've got the brawler. It's a shame that the brawler is so far down. It used to be one of the best, but it was never that great around a track, more for top speed, which we'll see in the top speed testing video. And then just missing out on the top 10, we've got the June buggy with a 109.5, and it's really interesting when you're going to see the makeup of the top 10, that I think it's 5 of the 10 vehicles in the top 10, so half the vehicles are all blazers. Starting with the Hot Rod Blazer in 10th place, which gets a 1 minute 8.369, and then just ahead of this we'll have the regular Blazer as well, which gets a 1 minute 8.269. Both of those, you know, the Hot Rod Blazer and the regular Blazer are pretty much exactly the same vehicle, they've just got different body styles, and then we've still got some more Blazers to see as we go through the top 10. Something that I just quickly want to mention whilst we look at the regular Blazer is that we saw the June loader in last place for the class. Now it actually didn't used to be like that, but obviously this video contains all vehicles that I previously tested which have been retested on new gen and made current, and also some brand new vehicles, obviously the ones that I haven't tested before. But the June loader is the only one of those that actually got slower rather than quicker. So all the lap times generally improved by maybe half a second or something for those vehicles that were tested on old gen. For example, the Bifta here with a 108.6, if you go back and look at its lap time that I tested way back, you know, many years ago on old gen, that is a quicker lap time than what it used to get. But the June loader is actually slower, and that's because of, I don't know, Rockstar have changed the coding of it. They've done something different from the transition from old gen to new gen, or at some point they've changed something with the June loader and made it slower. So the Blazer Lifeguard is no longer the slowest vehicle in the class. That now goes to the June loader. A new vehicle here again, with a very weaponized vehicle with the Night Shark. Can't be used in regular off-road races, despite, you know, now the Cara can with a big gun on the back, but it gets a 107.636, which is in 7th place for the class. And now we move on to the top 6, which is kind of where the class really starts to ramp up in terms of pace and ability. So the Night Shark was actually pretty well balanced with the trophy truck here that we're seeing in 6th place. It's only a few tenths of a second slower with a 107.333, just missing out on the top 5. But in reality, the trophy truck in 6th place and what we'll see in 5th place, which is the Desert Raid, they're pretty much the same vehicle. They're under the hood, they're exactly the same. They're only a little bit different in obviously the body styling, but in reality, you know, you're not gonna notice a difference in a racing perspective, between these two vehicles. And the Desert Raid and the trophy truck in particular, they're only a tenth of a second apart on the lap times. They're very close in terms of top speed, and they're very good in an off-road situation, which I'll talk about in a little while. But as we move on to 4th place, we've got the Street Blazer. So we're back with the Blazers again. 4th place for the Street Blazer with a 106.433. Very quick, and this is what the Blazers have and what they bring to this class, is they can corner incredibly well. Just sorry, I realised earlier that I said 5 out of the 10 vehicles in the top 10 were Blazers. It's actually only 4, sorry about that. But yeah, a 106.4 is a very quick lap time. Not great in terms of top speed from the Blazer, but it has incredible cornering ability. And surprised to see that the Blazer Aqua is even quicker than the Street Blazer. So the Street Blazer actually gets the benefit of a spoiler on the back, and it gets increased traction. But all of the Blazers are very good around the corners, very similar to motorcycles in that respect. With a 106.0, the Blazer Aqua does very good really to get up into 3rd place overall for the off-roads class. And just remember that with all of the Blazers, it is quicker in terms of acceleration and top speed to lean forward with them. Obviously similar to a motorcycle, but it's quicker to wheelie with those. With the Blazers, it will be quicker if you're leaning forward. But now we've only got 2 vehicles left, and in 2nd place we've got one of the newer vehicles, which is the Camacho. So the Camacho falls into 2nd place, just ahead of the Blazer Aqua, with a lap time of 105.734. Now whilst that's a good second and a half quicker than the trophy truck and the Desert Raid, those two vehicles are very well made up for an off-road situation, with great acceleration, great suspension, and it's not quite as clear cut when you are off-road. the trophy truck and the Desert Raid can certainly, you know, take it to the Camacho in an off-road situation and possibly even be the better choices. But obviously on a track like this, the Camacho is much better than them. Now also we need to keep in mind that we will see 2 bonus vehicles after we see our number 1. That's something that we definitely need to keep in mind for off-road races. But our actual number 1 for the class is the ramp buggy, with a lap time of 1 minute 5.733, which is only 1,000th of a second quicker than the Camacho. At this point, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already for new testing videos every Thursday and update videos when new cars are released, and check out other classes in the playlist. We'll also have the top speed video for these cars next Thursday, but around a lap, the ramp buggy is the quickest vehicle in the off-road class. Whether you agree with this vehicle being in the off-road class in the first place, just like whether you agree with the Vigilante being in the Subers class, is entirely up to you, but you need to blame Rockstar if you don't agree with that, because ultimately they make those decisions. But the ramp buggy basically drives like a sports car. It actually has downforce, one of the very few vehicles outside of the sports and supers classes to have downforce, so the lap time that this has gotten has changed over the years as downforce has changed. But ultimately it drives just like a sports car. It's very well planted to the ground, great cornering ability. We'll see in the comparison between the ramp buggy and the Camacho as well in a little while that they are just very, very closely matched around a track, and ultimately they get pretty much the same lap time. You know, 1,000th of a second is almost nothing. But like I said, we do have 2 bonus vehicles to cover, and first up we've got the Sanchez. So these bonus vehicles can be used in off-road races even though they're strictly not in the off-road class. So the Sanchez is a motorcycle, it's in the motorcycles class, but it can be used in off-road races along with, you know, the Camacho, the trophy truck, the Desert Raid, all those kind of vehicles, and it's much quicker. A 104.5 is more than a second quicker than the Camacho, which is the next best, but then we have the BF400 that pops up, which is even quicker still, with a 1 minute 3.263. Again, the BF400 is technically in the motorcycles class, but it can be used in off-road races even though it's not actually in the off-roads class, similarly to how the ramp buggy is in the off-roads class, but can't be used in regular off-road races outside of, you know, transform races or special vehicle races, things like that. So it's a little bit of a mess, the off-roads class, when it comes to racing, but ultimately the BF400 is kind of all you need, and it makes the rest of these vehicles irrelevant. So we're seeing a comparison here between the ramp buggy and the Camacho, first of all to show you how close they are, but after this you're also going to see a comparison between the BF400 and the Camacho, so that you can see how much of a disadvantage you're going to be by driving a Camacho in an off-road race against somebody who just chooses the BF400, because it's just that much quicker. And that's just the way it is. Motorcycles in general are quicker than cars in this game because you have that ability to get the front wheel up with them, wheelie with them, and really increase their speed by quite a significant margin. If you were to just not be able to wheelie with any motorcycle, or if it didn't increase your speed, motorcycles would be not even considered. They would be nowhere near as quick, and we would be talking about how the Camacho is the number 1 for off-road vehicle races, at least when you're thinking about a regular tarmac circuit. But as it is right now, the BF400 and the Sanchez as well, you know, the Sanchez is so old. The Sanchez was always the best vehicle to choose in off-road vehicle races, and even now it still gets a better lap time than the Camacho after all these years. So we've got 2 bikes that can be used in off-road vehicle races that are both quicker than any other vehicle that's been added over the past few years and since the game was released. The Sanchez has always been the number 1 in the off-road class, and the only time that has changed is when the BF400 was introduced and basically just became a quicker version of the Sanchez that dominated again. So, you know, as you're seeing between this comparison, the BF400 just, you know, runs away with it. And like I was saying earlier, the Camacho doesn't fare quite as well in an off-road situation as, for example, the trophy truck and the Desert Raid do, but the BF400 is excellent in an off-road situation. So it doesn't have any faults for off-road races, and all you really need, if you just want to go full try-hard, is a BF400. But do keep in mind that there are some off-road circuits and some off-road tracks that are specifically designed not to allow bikes, you know, if they go through water and stuff like that, you will respawn if you're on a bike. So it's always good to have one or two of the quicker vehicles that aren't bikes, you know, the Camacho or the trophy truck or the Desert Raid, if you ever come across an off-road vehicle race that is like that. But that's pretty much it. This one has taken a long time to do, this video, with all the retesting of all the previous vehicles from old gen, and the plethora of new vehicles that have been added with the weaponized vehicles and all that kind of stuff. I know you guys have been waiting for it for a good few years now, but hopefully it's been worth the wait. Remember, as I always say, to read the description for more info, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed it, found it helpful, subscribe for more, and consider supporting on Patreon. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.